So we are live. This is
What's going on, guys?
Sports. I'm Joey Cundiff.
I'm Mark Saxton.
And this
This
is
is
Drew
Drew
Brown.
Brown.
And we're ready to talk some shit.
Let's talk some. And this episode, as always, is brought to you by FHC Family Insurance. Make sure you call Chris, let him know.
The good old boys sent you.
That's what I'm talking
What's
about.
that number?
Hey, 928-524-3754 or
3760.
let's get it done.
Let's get it done. So, Drew, how's it going, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. I appreciate you guys for having me, by the way.
Yeah,
Hey,
no
thanks for joining.
So I'd like to start this off by saying I followed your TikTok for a long time before this.
He did.
Yeah, I
Appreciate it.
Yeah, just
Thank you.
a lot of good content on there. I never realized I was that into cornhole, so I started following you. Damn, there's real plays that can be made.
TikTok's got a smooth way of keeping it in people's lives once they like it once. So
Most definitely. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are, what you're about. This is just your time.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Drew Brown. I'm an ACL Pro. ACL stands for the American Cornhole League. They were established, I think, around 2015. I've been a pro for them for about 4 years now, I believe. Before that, I was an ACO Pro, which if you guys are kind of into like WWE and WCW and WWF, it was just a rival company of the ACL. So I made the transition after being a pro in the ACO for 3 or 4 years to switch over to the ACL. A lot of people that are familiar with the sport are so because of either TikTok or something like that or ESPN. So ACL is the premier league for cornhole that has been shown on ESPN. They also have the USA cornhole team and everything else. So I'm excited to be a part of the ACL now, and they're doing huge things. It's only getting bigger.
Nice.
Cool. Very
Man,
cool.
how can you tell us how you got into it, how it started, and then how you went pro? Like, give us the little journey there. The struggles, the triumphs, things like that.
Yeah. So I've been playing, not professionally or in the top of the game. I've been playing for about 15 years.
Nice.
Professionally, I'd say around 8 or 9. I don't think I actually turned pro till 2014. So I played at that level for a while, but I mean, it takes a lot to get over that hump to actually get that pro card. But I started out 15 years ago. We was at a Thanksgiving with my cousins, and I got a big family. They're all pretty close and everything. And my cousin brought a set of cornhole boards, and I never heard of the game in my life. And I'm a pretty competitive person. I played baseball and football, basketball all my life. So as soon as he got them out and he beat me about every time we played, I was like, I'm not going to let that happen. And I'm originally from Ohio, so all this was up in Ohio.
Okay.
So from Thanksgiving until the next Thanksgiving, mind you, there's snow and cold on the ground for 5 of those months. And so I sat inside and I practiced for a year. And to this day, he hasn't beat me yet. But
Nice.
Shout out Wes Phillipson, just in case you watch this, you still don't have it. So then once I kind of had an idea that I was pretty good, we were going to local tournaments and we were winning the local tournaments. So I'd get on Google and we'd start traveling further and further. I went to a tournament and it was called the Irish Festival in Dublin, Ohio. And we went up there and they had probably 100 and something teams. And we got down to the final 16 and we played against Matt Guy and Randy Atha. And for some of the people that aren't familiar with some of the big names in cornhole, Matt Guy is a multiple-time world champion. He considers himself the GOAT of cornhole, and so does about 90% of the population. I mean, the guy's insane. Right now, I think his average is like an 11.2 every round that he throws out of 12.
So time out. What does that mean? 11.2.
So when you play a round of cornhole, you get all 4 in. Each bag worth 3 points. That would be a 12-point round for you. Now, no matter what your opponent throws, your average is still going to be a 12.0 at that time. So your opponent could throw 12 in as well. You both would just be averaging a 12 at the moment. But yeah, so we lost 21-0 to Mr. Goat. And from there, I held his partner, who at the time was number 5 in the world. He was a number 1 player, and I held his partner to only 2 points that whole game. So I'm not blaming my partner because there's nothing he could have done. But I mean, it's just the way things worked out. And I talked to Matt and Randy first time I met him there, and I was like, "So what do you think?" I mean, I put in a lot of work to get this far, and they told me, they was like, "You got to go to the World Championships." And I ended up going there. I did not do half as good as I thought I would, but it was a good start. I got to meet a lot of good people, and that was kind of literally the start of the journey. And since then, all these people have become my friends. I've actually won the world team event with Matt Guy 2 years in a row, and I moved down to Georgia, and I ended up winning the Georgia singles championships 2 years in a row, and then I won the doubles championship. So kind of since then, since that altercation with them, it just kind of jump-started everything, and it got addicting really quick.
Nice. Well, hey, I'll tell you right now, like I love bags, I love throwing bags, but I just belong in the backyard when drinking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You might crack up at this. This was the special prop I bought a little bit ago. I got real big into cornhole a little bit ago. It's a
Nice.
you know what I mean?
No, that's perfect.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We might
Those are
do Brown's
anywhere in the office, you're good to go. Bedrooms.
There it is.
There it is.
So we've got a little set. It's probably a little bit bigger than that, but we'll take it on trips with us to the championships while we're in the hotel rooms. We get bored and we're all gambling guys. So
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I like it.
That's what we're talking about. So you did talk about a little bit to the road of being a champ, but what does it feel like being on top of that mountain, playing with the GOAT, being on side, all that kind of stuff? Just take us through like the mental state of being there, throwing that last bag, all that good stuff.
yeah, I mean it's playing in the backyard and like having a beer with your friends and everything else and talking a bunch of crap. That's one thing.
Right.
But when you're playing, I was on ESPN a year and a half ago, and when you're playing on there, you've got 5 or 6 cameras that are looking at you. At the time, COVID was it was ramped up. I think it was probably 4 months into COVID. Sports was starting to come back. Cornhole, if I remember right, was the first sport back on ESPN when COVID was over.
The real hero of sports, right?
Yeah. So on top of that, I was the first broadcast. We were the second game, but the very first broadcast that Cornhole came back from COVID, I was a part of. And I don't care who you are, you're going to get nerves. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people watching, and the bag's in your hands. And if you just make it off the board, right, left, short, long, it don't matter. It's going to be embarrassing, and you're never going to hear the end of it. But I mean, once you throw that first bag, it's like you forget everything else. You're back at a game, you're back at doing what you love to do, and then kind of muscle memory kicks in, and you're there to win. I mean, you definitely don't want to get embarrassed on national TV.
Right,
so.
And you got to be the champ twice.
Right, twice.
Yeah, for the state championships and then the team event, but the team event wasn't on national TV, so
Gotcha.
I wish it was.
So you're talking about the mindset that you have to have that first bag, and then all the nerves goes away. Funny enough, we both watch a lot of sports, a lot of interviews afterwards. That's what you always hear after your first playoff game, after your first Super Bowl, your first Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Do you have the mindset? Do you feel like there's an athlete you relate to the most in terms of that, like a Peyton Manning, like a Wayne Gretzky, anybody like that?
So I grew up a Jordan and LeBron fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when they talk about the GOAT discussion, they're both awesome. But also with Kobe Bryant, man, with the way his mindset was, and if even in cornhole, if you go into a tournament and you don't believe you're the best person in that room, you're not going to be. And if you do believe it, it's going to be awfully hard for every one of your opponents to knock you off that pedestal. So that's what I try to do, and that helps a lot of the nerves when you go into a game. You got, and now I know just about all my opponents when I go up there. It's kind of like the PGA Tour. Everyone kind of knows everybody on tour. So now I kind of know, like, kind of like watching film. Okay, this guy throws a lot of blockers. Maybe I'll switch up to a faster set of bags, or this guy just goes hole for hole. Maybe I'll try to get a slower set so I can put some blockers up there and muddy the board up a little bit, make them change up their muscle memory where they're stepping outside or throwing long or short. And it's what I need to know, what people's strengths and weaknesses are. So I do watch film on people just to make sure that when we step up to the boards, not only do I have the physical talent to be above them, but the mental and the game plan as well. So that, I mean, a lot of people look at cornhole and think, oh, you're just throwing bags at a hole. And there's a lot more strategy to it, especially when you get to the level where people are putting bags where they mean to put them. And it can be very strategic when you get two guys that are throwing blockers up there and waiting for their last bag to drag everything in, or rolling over bags, or just airmailing everything. I mean, that's when I think it gets fun to watch.
I got you. Hey, I got a question now, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so you don't have to answer what you want. But do you have a team out there that you love to beat, or a team out there that you love to face, whether it's because of a rivalry or you just enjoy the time out there with them? Is there any stories that you got? Some funny stories, some great stories, something behind that, kind of just like the you kind of touched on it, like comparison to the PGA, just the attitude in the room type thing.
Yeah, for sure. So me and one of my former teammates is Noah Wooten, and we went to, it was a national tournament in Florida. And we were supposed to be, the tournament we were in was supposed to be televised at the time. And this was before we switched from ACO to the ACL. And they just started like the pro group and everything up. And we weren't a part of the pro group yet. This was literally the year before. And we went down there for the national tournament. Well, they had the pro tournament, and then they had the open tournament where also pros could play in. So really the harder one to win would be the open, because you've got a bunch of names you've never heard of that are really good, and they're just coming out, they don't have enough time to chase points and become pro. And then you got the actual pros that are really good. So me and my partner went into that tournament thinking it was going to be on ESPN. We went, I think the second or third game of that tournament, we played Matt Guy and Brett Guy, who's his son. And his son actually has won world championships before too. So that was like, it's always the team to beat. You always want to beat, whoever's on top. So they knocked us to the loser bracket. Well, we came back through, had to play him again. And I think it was tied like 20-19 or something. And he threw one a little bit to the right, and I threw a bag, and it knocked one of his off. And the hole was pretty much clogged up. And all we needed was one more point. And we ended up winning that match. And mind you, these guys are pretty competitive. So the way they reacted was, coming from me is like, we won it. Right. Watching them and how they reacted when they lost, it was like it's kind of like, no, I'm not going to say a sore loser type of thing, but they were pretty upset. And I think that'll be probably the match that I'll never forget when we won. Nice. Because we're great friends, don't get me wrong, but that makes for a better rivalry in the end. You know what I mean?
You gotta agree there, yeah.
And both of us want to win all the time, and he does win all the time. So finally beating him after he kind of started the journey, and it was awesome. We ended up going on and we took second in that national tournament, and the only team to beat us other than Matt and them, which we avenged, was a team at the time that won like 4 or 5 national tournaments in a row, and they were like one of the hottest things that were throwing bags at the moment. But those two have since split, and it's been back to kind of even. Matt's still on top of the game, but yeah, it's a blast.
I love that. I love that story, man. We appreciate you. Can you walk us through some of, 'cause there's a lot of people at home, I'm sure that probably aren't up to date as much as probably us three. More, not definitely not more than you. Can you walk us through, on your shirt, some of the sponsors, what they mean to you, how they help you get to where you need to be, things like that?
Yeah, for sure. So Bush is actually I guess technically a corporate sponsor. So they sponsor through the ACL. They I don't know what the contract it says, but they hand over whatever amount of money in order for all the players to represent that brand. And then a lot of that goes to prize pools and everything else. And mind you, the ACL is putting up over $1 million in prize pools this year. So, and that sets a mark. So that's the highest we've had so far. Some of this is last year's jerseys. So I do have other sponsors this year. I haven't got the jersey yet, but I'll be getting it in February. Nice. We've got Airwolf Athletics, who's actually another one of my sponsors this year. They're out of Hawaii. He's a veteran, awesome guy. You can go to airwolfathletics.com. They've got a bunch of apparel. They also co-brand with bags, and they do a lot of disc golf stuff too. So anything on the disc golf side, they're awesome. I mean, great people. And like I said, it's US built, it's military, it's everything you could ask for in a company when you're talking like American wise. The second one would be the Titan bags. So they're my main sponsor this year. If you go to titancornholebags.com, you can actually pick up my set of cornhole bags, and it's everything that the pros use. So they're ACL Pro approved.
That's the goal.
Hey, you down?
We got to get some.
There you go. So they got bags on there. They have boards on there. Anything you want, apparel, shorts, hoodies, practice, like airmail boxes. It's like a cornhole board, but it's literally just a hole. And it helps you practice all your airmails so you're not throwing at a board anymore. They've got a little bit of everything. And Brandon Greba, the parent company of that is West Georgia. Brandon Greba is the owner, awesome guy. He's Georgia based. I now live in Atlanta. So, I mean, it was awesome to be able to create that partnership with them. And I could be botching this number, but I believe he said that they supply 92% of all cornhole related products to the US. Wow, so just about everything that's cornhole related usually comes out of West Georgia Cornhole here in Villa Rica, Georgia. Yeah, they're awesome. Their turnaround time is absolutely above everyone else's when it comes to, you order a set of bags from another company, and I'm not going to say who, you could be waiting up to 8 months for delivery. Wow. When you order from Titan Bags, they'll be there. I would be surprised if it takes longer than 5 business days. I mean, they're amazing.
Well,
and on top of that,
we're putting our order in tonight.
Yeah. Do it. Yep. Do it. Yeah. Use code Team Titan, and that'll give you a percentage off.
Just like in America, we all taking those.
That's right.
And then there's a little tab on the top. You can look at all the pros that they sponsor. You can see all their brand bags and everything else, and a portion of that goes to each pro, so it helps out a lot.
So are yours heavier, lighter? Like what do you prefer?
So they're all 16 ounces, so 1 pound. Now there is like a 0.05 plus or minus tolerance. But they all feel relatively the same weight. The difference is, when you're talking different brand manufacturers, is the fill that's inside. So cornhole bags are no longer made of corn kernels. They're actually filled with resin pellets, which actually help along like the duration of time. They'll last for years if you're not running them over cars or anything crazy, which I've seen people do. I mean,
do they slide better and everything like that on the board too?
He's had some.
So there,
he needs some help.
Right. So there's actually, depending on how you throw, there's different bag material. So like this one here, this material on this side is different than this material on this side. Okay. So one is a faster material and one is a slower material. So if I want to lay a block, I lay it with this side down. If I want to try to push through something, I flip it over and throw that slick side and it'll ride up.
Nice. And so that straight up so we can get a screenshot so we can post this for the gram.
Yeah, for sure.
Right there. Perfect. All right.
So if you look on this bag here, there's a little number where my finger is.
Right.
So the cool thing about Titan bags, and I believe they're the only company that has them. This one has an 8, and then this one has a 9, but it tells you the speed of the bag. So it's a scale from was it 0 to 10.
Okay.
So 0 being the slowest and 10 being the fastest. And this one, I like a slower bag, so I actually never even throw this bag because it's an 8 and a 9. They're both pretty fast sides. The bag that I designed and created on the Titan website is the Venoms, and they're actually a 3 and an 8. So you have a pretty slow side and then a decently fast side on the other end. Okay. And I tell you what, they're perfect. I mean, if you're having trouble with the bag staying on the board, make sure that one side hits there and it ain't gonna go anywhere. If you like to land,
that's what I need.
Right. If you're always landing short of the board, switch it on that fast side and get it up a little bit and it'll ride right up the board and you'll have no problems. But
love that. So we got a quick question.
Hey, you can improv.
Hey, improv here, and you can.
Here we go.
You can wait till after we're off the air to answer this. But how does Blue Collar become your sponsor?
I mean, it'll have to be next year, but we can definitely talk about it.
Let's do it. Let's set it up.
Yeah.
Our years usually run so we start back up in February. We'll be going to, it was LA, but with COVID and everything kind of going rampant out there, they had to change venues literally last minute. We're getting the finalization this week, and they're talking about going to Indianapolis. Okay. So starting in February, I'll be in Indianapolis. Then we'll be going to Washington, D.C. We'll be going to, I should have got the list in front of me. I think Florida, and then Rock Hill, North Carolina, and I think Vegas. So we'll be kind of going a little bit of everywhere. If you or any of the viewers do want to see where we'll be, if you want to come and watch one time, check the iplaycornhole.com or iPlayACL, excuse me. And you can check everything on there from player stats to rankings to where we're going. And you can even check the open tournaments, which is kind of like what I was telling you earlier that we took second in. So they have open tournaments throughout the country, everywhere. And you could play against pros, you could play against normal tailgate people. And I mean, you never know who you're going to end up going against. But if you win an open, your name will be up there and on the ACL podcast and everything else that they have. And you'll definitely be known within the week.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. We might have to check that out.
We definitely might.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a very observant kind of person. So when you sent on your TikToks, I've seen it before, and then the video you sent for a hype video, letting people know that you're going to be on. I seen you holding a bevy.
Yeah, of course.
Now, in my eyes, it was a Michelob Ultra, right?
That it was either that or a Bud Light, probably.
Okay. We're close. All right. We Modelo drinkers over here.
There you go.
What's your favorite
bevy of choice? Drew Brown's bevy of choice is
since New Year's resolution, Michelob Ultra.
All right.
But I do like sours and IPAs and stuff like that. So tonight I'm drinking Fire Maker. It's a dry hopped Indian Pale Ale lager. Ooh. But I've been watching football, so it's called Fourth Down. It was the whole reason why I bought
it. So are you a Browns fan or are you a Cincy fan?
So actually, I grew up mid-eastern Ohio, which is actually closest to Pittsburgh.
Oh,
so I'm a Steelers fan.
All right,
yeah.
All right. So
but I do root for Ohio State. What's that?
You were happy with Ben's performance the other night, then?
I wouldn't say happy, but I'd say he was happy he won.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
His performance, I mean, he could have went out way better on time.
That's right. You were just happy he went out winning, right?
But the whole spiel that they had after the game was over and everything, it was pretty magical with the family and everything. I mean, you couldn't write a better script unless he had like 500 passing yards and 10 touchdowns. That's the only way it would have made it better. But then I definitely wouldn't have believed it.
Agreed.
I know he's been out on top of the world winning the Super Bowl, but let's be honest, his performance was subpar.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
For sure.
I agree. Najee really put everybody on his back. And
So, we're going to bounce off the beverage line. or the beverage subject. What is the fine line of playing to your performance? So quick sidebar before you answer that. Marcus,
Yep.
we don't play professional darts, but when we over at his pop's house,
when we play darts, shout out to my
heated.
pop first of all.
Shout out to pop. It gets heated, you know.
Yeah,
There's words
but
exchange.
you know, I gotta get to a good. I gotta feel it in my lips a little bit. You know what I mean?
Like we
Right.
ain't at a school dance, you know.
Right.
Like,
We're trying to get it done. You're trying to get it done. So what's the level for Drew Brown?
So let me say this first. A lot of people ask me if we're allowed to drink at national tournaments and stuff. And the answer is yeah. Most time, the tournaments is sponsored by Bud Light or Mick Ultra. I think Bacardi Spice Rum is one of the open sponsors right now. A lot of times we go and they do have that for sale and everything. Me personally, I definitely want to have 2 or 3 before we even start. So my thing is though, you can't forget that you're playing for money. So 2 or 3, and then maybe I'll drink a water or something, and I'll drink 3 or 4 more, and then that'll probably be it for the night, and then it'll be water from there. Hopefully I'm still on the broadcast court or something, but yeah, I don't like to go over 7. I'd say anywhere between 4 and 7 is perfect. Now I can still function after 7,
right.
But I mean, I still want to be as mentally sharp and consistent as I was on like
chance that. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that for sure.
I sure have been to tournaments where I've put 12 or 15 in and still won it. But I wake up in the morning and forget how I even did it and who I played.
So would you say as far as like, you know, the skills for the actual bag toss, now what would you say your comfort zone is between those brewskis there? Do you think your comfort zone, like where you're playing your best, is that 4th one, or is it lower?
No, I'd say 5 or 6. I'm super confident. At times maybe a little cocky.
That's the best way to be though.
Right. And it takes the edge is already off. You're already feeling that buzz. And at that point, you know, like I said earlier, you can really believe that you're the best in the room no matter what you're doing. You may not be, but
as long as it's up here.
Exactly. You got to believe it before you can achieve it.
Gotta do it. Like Al Michaels did to Barney Stinson with the perfect. We got fans. They worried. I'm not saying you are, but they watching your TikTok. PEDs. You using any performance drugs out there? Any stick on them? You got
spider
tack. What we working with?
Unless it's alcohol, I got none of that.
There you go. Hey, a true man. Cheers.
There you go.
Cheers. I like it. I love it. That's awesome.
So, you know, this is a question from a fan at home. To Mr. Mark.
And my pop, he's also a fan.
He wanted to know this, and he wanted us to know this. Is there anybody you got beef with? Not like actual, but somebody that has your number, and is there somebody that you get in their head, they got your number, you know, like, you know?
Is there that big rivalry there, like actual?
I'd say that has my number right now would actually be my teammate. Glenn, they call him Bones, Glenn Gundle, and he's actually an older guy. He's in his 50s, but he's straight down the middle every time. He airmails pretty consistently, and he's got my number. Now it didn't used to be like that. Just within the past year, you know, I think playing with me got him over the edge. You know, he just happened to get up there.
Nice. It's always better for those kind of people to be on your team.
Right. Oh yeah. Right. That's like, hey, you keep playing good. You keep beating me as long as we keep winning doubles.
Love it. I love it. Do you have any like you know, funny stories or you know, your first time up there on that big platform when you know, like Drew Pierce, we recently had him on the show where he was puking before every game type thing. Do you have anything like that where you showed up and it was just, you know, hey, it was everything you wanted, everything you were after, and you couldn't believe it was right in front of you?
Probably the time we was on the broadcast court. I mean, I think probably 15 to 20 minutes before we went on the court live, I was literally pacing back and forth. I probably drank 1 or 2 beers just sitting there waiting for the game ahead of me to end. And it probably only took 10 or 12 minutes for that game to be over. But
Wow.
I mean, the nerves were there, like I said. But once you get in front of that camera, you throw that first bag, and then everything's kind of out the door. You're just there for one reason.
Right.
I haven't been sick or anything like that. I wouldn't go that far, but definitely visibly shaken, I guess would be the word for it. But it's all, I mean, it's just cameras. That's the way you got to look at it. We go to tournaments all the time where you got hundreds of people that are gathering around watching that one game, and I was looking at it as it was no different than that. You know, whether these 100 think I'd suck because I threw it back off the board, or 1,000 people at home think I do, you know, or
Right.
that could be the worst. That could be the worst thing that could happen. Or the best thing is I could come out and have a highlight on ESPN Sports Center top 10 or something, you know. And I mean, there's more highs to think of than lows whenever you're there into that spotlight.
Absolutely. I get that.
Yeah. So I was just looking. I see you got a lot of tattoos, and from that, you saying, well, you got a meaningful one. Go ahead, walk us through.
So I just got this one a few days ago, so it's still kind of healing.
Okay.
But I got my kids' names, Brayley, Lula, and Banks. They're 8, 3, or 8, 2, and about 6 months. And then they're 2 of them are Leos, so I got the lion on there.
Oh, nice.
A couple flowers and stars and everything else. Then I'm part Cherokee, so I've got Dreamcatcher and everything on this side. And
Nice. There you go. Love it.
that's about, most of them mean something.
Right.
But my next adventure, I want to get some kind of 90s themed sleeve on my leg or something, just like a bunch of random cartoon characters or something, you know, just kind of.
Hey, be careful with that knee. My buddy, shout out to Matthew Theobald there. So I'm an ex-police officer. He's actually a current police officer. He's a state trooper here in Arizona. That poor bastard. I'm gonna tell you something, man. He got his whole leg done with a pirate ship, ocean scenery. Absolutely gorgeous. Done by Tim Pope, who's also my artist as well.
Nice.
But I swear he died at least 3 times when it came to the kneecap. So just be careful with those legs.
People warned me because they got close to my armpit here.
Oh, yeah,
People warned me about that, and I was like, "Oh, you know it." I'll tell you what, man. It was. If it would have lasted 15 minutes longer, I would have had to have asked for a break or something. It was.
I'll tell you right now. So my whole sleeve probably took about 6.5 hours, and they got up in there just to
really.
Yeah, and it was. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I got right here. And about right here, and I had to look at old Tim, and I was like, man, I can't.
I know. That's what they got. They did that part, and it was a little tender, but
yeah.
As soon as they got up in there, I was like, man, I
understand that.
I've got another one on my ribs and everything else, but that armpit had to have been one of the most tender one. That was the funnest one.
That was the highlight reel for me. I had to ask my old buddy Matt to pour me a shot because I couldn't. I needed some medication.
I wish we talked a couple days ago. I would have took some shots with me.
We would have been there to support you for sure.
Right.
So speaking of shots, you whiskey, vodka, tequila, what kind of man you are?
During celebration.
During a celebration. This is a big celebration for us, so we're kind of taking, we're taking suggestions right now.
So I'm a huge Tito's advocate.
Okay.
I've been trying to get them to sponsor me for a while, but maybe one day.
Hey, Tito's listed a blue collar. Sponsor this man. He needs
Come on, let's go. And then also Crown. You can never go wrong with some Crowns.
Yeah, I like it. There it is.
So we can take it. Can you grab the Crown for us, please?
Yeah. Hey, you want to? I don't know if you have it available, but we're willing to take a shot with you right now before we end the show.
Yeah. I'll take a drink here with you.
Okay, all
Oh,
right.
wait, hang
Cool.
on.
All right, cool.
All right, she's coming
That
back.
was about empty. So.
That's awesome.
All right.
Here we go.
And just so you know,
Hey,
this was from New Year's. Okay.
There you go.
Pour these up here.
All right. Well,
And once again, man, Drew, thank you for your
thank you. Do you have
time.
any closing, anything you'd like to say before we go ahead and end this, or any shout out?
Any family?
Shout out to some of my other sponsors as well. Monkey Wrench Brewing, they're local here in Suwanee, Georgia. Willard Wrecker Service, they provide a lot of wrecker service for literally Atlanta, pretty much the whole city of Atlanta. They've hopped on board, helped out a lot. Once again, West Georgia Cornhole and also Titan Bags, and then Airwolf Athletics. So other than that, I mean, there's a couple people. Bones, let's shout out Bones. And then my family and everybody. Appreciate y'all supporting me doing all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, I hear that. And on that note,
And on that note, right before we take our final drink, will there be a follow-up with Drew Brown?
Man, let's do it. I got more.
do it.
Good College Sports and Drew Brown.
End to your season. Let's get it done.
Appreciate you guys.
Awesome,
All right.
Drew. Once again, man, we super appreciate your time and thank you for jumping on with us. I know the folks have had fun. I know we've had a blast with you, and we just wish you just the best out there this season, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for following me and asking me to be on the show. So hopefully after I win a national championship, you guys have me back on and we'll show some rings or something.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the attitude we need there.
Right.
Let's get it.
All right, man.
Awesome. Hey,
Have
you
a
take
good
care, and like I said, good luck, man. Take it easy.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.